All right. Welcome, 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 everyone. We're so excited to have you all here tonight. We are going to talk about how you can discover more in 2024. So, as I was doing my devotional time this morning, I thought, wow, you know what? I just feel like I have been on a personal growth journey for about, well, all of my life, but for 20 years. So I started my Mary Kay business over 20 years ago. And I feel like I'm always learning and growing. And that is a beautiful thing, I think. So anyway, but there's just so many things in my life and in the last 20 years that I've learned that I thought, you know what? Why am I not sharing that with other people? I wish I would have had someone share these things with me as early as possible in my life. So anyway, so I just want to welcome you. And every year that we set goals and we set goals to cut things out of our lives, to go to the gym more, to start a new diet, to read more, maybe to spend less money and just a variety or make more money, a variety of things. How long does that really last? I want you to think about that. We're going to talk about tonight how you can help make lasting changes in your goals for this year. Also, what are your goals? Setting goals and how to think about them differently instead of just thinking of it as I've got this goal to do this. Maybe think of it as a lifestyle change. Also, we'll talk about how to attach new habits to the existing habits and that's called habit stacking. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. And I'll share some of my life hacks that have helped me grow in so many ways. Okay? So, first of all, let's talk about consistency. So, consistency in whatever you are trying to do, even if it's the littlest things, makes a huge difference. Okay. So, habit stacking is one of the things that I think, and that I learned habit stacking from a book. And gosh, I'm sure now, like the name of it is escaping me, but it is I'll post it later. But anyway, what habit stacking is like, let's say that you brush your teeth every day, right? Well, you want to tie something to that habit. So maybe it is putting your exercise outfit right by your toothbrush so you know that you need to put it on and go get out to exercise every morning. Or maybe it's your eye cream. Maybe you need to put your eye cream right by your toothbrush so you know that you need to use your eye cream every morning and every night. So there are certain things that you can do to give you those reminders. One of mine is affirmations. I have my affirmations on my bathroom mirror. So every morning when I'm brushing my teeth, every evening when I'm brushing my teeth, I say my affirmations. And so there's so many fun things that we can talk about like that. Also, programming. You are always in a process of programming. Your mind is always being programmed. So, whatever you're watching, whatever you're reading, whatever you're listening to, whoever you're around, who is in your circle, you are in the process of programming all the time. Your brain is soaking up things that you don't even know that it's soaking up. You're absorbing things that you see, you're absorbing things that you hear. And so, are you controlling those situations? We'll also talk about focusing on today. Because so many times I think that we focus on, I want to lose 20 pounds this year. But what are you doing today to make that happen? That is so powerful. So, anyway, all right. Well, we're going to go through about 6 different categories. We're going to talk about spiritual health. We're also going to talk about our physical health. We're going to talk about financial health. We'll talk about the personal, mental, and thought health. We'll also talk about relationships and we'll talk about building confidence. So, who's ready to get started? All right. Thank you for those of you that have joined us tonight on Zoom. And just make sure to put your questions in the comments, or you can hop on afterwards and I'll answer all your questions. Okay. All right, so let's start off with spiritual health. Okay, so 20 years ago, I went to a Mary Kay lunch meeting, and I heard my senior sales director at the time. I heard her speak about scripture. She was talking about biblical verbiage, and I said, "Is that seriously in the Bible?" I mean, it shocked me because I thought, "That's really practical. That really meets practical needs." And so she gave me the chapter and the verse to go home and look it up. She did not go back and let me like fill it out, but she just said, "Here it is. Go look that up." And so after that time, she also encouraged me to do a 90-day journey. And I'm like, "What's a 90-day journey?" And she said, spend 15 minutes in prayer and journaling every morning. And I'm a sales director with Mary Kay. So she also said, book a new appointment today per day. And so I did. And so, I would touch base with her. She would say, "How are you doing on your journey?" And so what does that look like? We're going to talk about kind of what that looks like and what are you going to do for 15 minutes with God in the mornings if you've never done that. Okay? So, let me just tell you though that first of all, when I started that journey, it started as a have to and probably a need to because I knew that I needed to have personal growth. And then it ended up as a I get to. So I get to have that time, that quiet time. I've called it my quiet time. I've called it my prayer time. I've called it my devotional time. I've called it my time with God. But just so many all of those terms warm my heart because it is a really sacred and special time. And you know what? If you will get up and you will have listen to the Lord first in the day, if you will get your mind straight first thing in the morning, that is going to make the rest of your day go much more smooth, I promise. Okay. So I am a Catholic Christian, and some people don't know what Catholic is. And Catholic is it means universal. So that's the universal church, the very first church that was ever created. So I'm a Christian, and if you've never surrendered your life or built a relationship with Jesus Christ, I just want to invite you to start right there. That might be where you need to start in 2024 or 20 end of 2023. So I just want you to know that he suffered on the cross for you and me, and he's still alive and he wants a relationship with you. He rose from the grave and he is alive. When you give your life to Jesus Christ, just by saying these words, I'll lead you in a little prayer here. He sends the Holy Spirit to live within you, to be your guide in all things in your life, in relationships, in business, in helping others, in everything. And so if you've never done that, then I would encourage you to just repeat after me. Dear Heavenly Father, I know that I'm a sinner, and I ask for your forgiveness. I believe you died for my sins and rose from the dead. I turn from my sins. I repent of my sins. I invite you to come into my heart and life. I want to trust you and follow you as my Lord and Savior, Jesus. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, let's talk about spiritual growth. So, number one, my first tip is this: don't just go to church. Get to know Jesus by spending time with him in the Word. And so, like when we talked about the 90-day journey, what does that look like? Well, it looks like this. It might look like you're reading the Bible. And by the way, if you've got a phone, you can have the Bible right in your hands because there is a Bible app. In fact, let me just show you right here. When I open up the Bible app, every day there is an opportunity. It says, seizing the opportunity to do good. See, there's two little options here. And so it will show scripture, and then there's a guided prayer. And so you can use this on a daily basis. And so you can also read the Word of God, read the Bible. If you've never read anything in the Bible before, I would suggest starting with the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Read through those. It's more, it's a storyline of who Jesus was. And then you can kind of wrap around the backside of the Bible and start at the front after you're done with that at Genesis. And that talks about the creation of the world. And so I would just encourage you to do that. Or maybe you are a podcast girl. And so Rick Warren has a podcast called Daily Hope. I used to listen to that every day. It's about 15 minutes long every day. It is so good. And he is such a great Bible teacher. I love that. Another pastor that I really admire is Dr. Charles Stanley. And he's just such a wise man. He is in heaven with Jesus. But there are so many recordings. All you have to do is go to In Touch with Dr. Charles Stanley, and you'll be able to find that there. Okay. The second tip that I have for you is quiet your mind. Okay. So, do that devotional, get into the word of the Lord and do some journaling, journal what your thoughts are, but quiet your mind. And so how do you quiet your mind? Because when a lot of times there's just like, I don't know about you, but I've always got like 5,000 thoughts going like, oh, I need to do this today. I need to do this. I need to do this for the kids. I need to do this around the house. I need to do this in my office. And so our brain is firing and we're thinking of all these thoughts. But it does help if you start in the morning. So if you'll do this in the morning, it is a little bit easier to quiet your mind. And I just want you to think about this. As you're quieting your mind, imagine that you are looking at a lake and you're trying to just focus on the water. Every once in a while, there'll be a boat that will cross in front of you. You can acknowledge it, but you don't have to follow it. So those are your thoughts. Okay. A thought pops into your mind. You can acknowledge it, but focus on just your breath. Just quiet your mind. And sometimes what I have to do is sometimes I even sing a little praise and worship, and or say a prayer. So those are also great options. So anyway, but quieting your mind, that is super, super powerful. And it allows you, I believe, to hear what the Lord is impressing upon you that you're supposed to do that day. So that way, you know what? Obedience is the best. So that is my goal, is to be obedient in what God is calling me to do. Okay, number 3, see yourself as God sees you. When you look in the mirror, do you say, oh, you are getting so heavy, or you need to lose weight, or wow, you've got some wrinkles? How are you seeing yourself? Because remember, God created you. He loves you. He does want you to take good care of yourself. I know that for sure. Honor the body that God gave you. Take good care of yourself, but stop criticizing his creation. I think that's really important. Tip number 4, join a Bible study. If you're not part of a Bible study in your church, maybe you can find one online. I know that as an independent sales director with Mary Kay, I love it because if you're a car driver or a sales director, we actually have a Bible study for the leaders in our company. It's really cool. So and it's on Zoom, so you don't even have to leave your home. Okay, but find a group, find a Bible study. And if you have questions about it, reach out to me, let me know, and I can help you find a Bible study. Okay, number 5, the Bible is like a toolbox. Okay, so it is so cool. There's something in there for everything, for every challenge that you have. Pick out your favorite scriptures and your promises in the Bible and put them on note cards. That way you can take them with you. You can memorize them. You know what? I like to memorize my favorite verses. Why? Because if I'm going through something, or if I have a friend going through something, I want to be able to pull that promise out, God's promise out, and share that with them right there. Okay. So His word is true, and it shall not return back to him void. According to Isaiah chapter 55, verse 11. Check that out. Also, does anyone on here ever experience anxiety? Well, I found myself going through hormonal changes in my 40s and going through like perimenopause, whatever they call it. Anyway, the beginning stages of menopause. And so, and maybe you're a man, you're like, oh, great, I don't want to hear any of this. Well, guess what? I think that men have emotional moments too. And so it's just, sometimes there's just anxiety that happens in our life for one reason or another, but hormones sometimes is one of those. And so, how do you combat that? Well, you know what? I went through, we'll talk about physical health here in a little bit, but they gave me antidepressants, and the antidepressants actually made me worse. I was waking up in the middle of the night with anxiety, and I'd never experienced that before. And I knew, like, this is not right. This is not right. I'm not going to allow them to up a prescription. And so, going through all of that, yes, I did find something that I do take. It's called 5-HTP. It's over the counter. I just take one a night, and it's like a mood health thing, and it's natural. And so, um, but I needed something else. I needed to calm my mind. And so, guess what? There's a scripture for that. And it's Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 and 7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and pleading with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God. And the peace of God that surpasses all understanding will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And so when I would have anxiety, I would repeat that over and over and over again until I was calm or went to sleep. So, love that. Okay. So, how about maybe you're worried about the future? You're worried about health, or you're a person that overthinks things and just over worries. Speak to God. Speak to Him and say, Lord, I trust you. I trust you with my health. I trust you with my finances, Lord Jesus. I trust you with my children. And according to your word in Jeremiah 29:11, I know that you have plans for me for prosperity and not for disaster, to give me a future filled with hope. Isn't that awesome? That's what Jeremiah 29:11 says, that he has a plan for us and he knows that plan. And so we just need to trust him. And so, what can you do to grow spiritually this year? Do you think that you could spend an extra 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes in prayer, devotion, and maybe do some journaling? I know it'll give you some great changes. Okay, let's go on to our next subject. And by the way, if you have questions, make sure you pop on, ask questions, raise your hand, or post it in the comments. Okay. All right. Let's talk about physical health. Oh my gosh. You know what? One of the biggest New Year, I don't even know what they call them anymore. Resolutions. Sorry, I haven't done a New Year's resolution for years. It's just because I just don't think that they're healthy. I think that we should just be making have positive habits in our life going forward all the time. And so I just don't even believe like in just the resolution, because people get so far into it and then they just give up. But I don't want you to give up. I want you to feel better. And so I think that physical health is the start of feeling better. So let's talk about that. First of all, let's talk about hunger. Did you know that most of hunger is in your head? We're going to talk a little bit about stomach hunger. And you know what? After I studied this personally and recognized this personally in myself, actually, I think Dr. Phil actually has a book about this. And so you can always check that out. But there's a thing that is actually like stomach hunger or body hunger. And then there's brain hunger. What creates brain hungry? What makes you think you're hungry? Have you ever been like, I just feel like having a snack? Every time I would walk by my kitchen, I'd be like, I need a snack. There's just something in our brain sometimes that triggers, hey, what's in the refrigerator or what is in the cabinet to eat? And most of the time, that is sugar. Sugar is like a drug, okay? It tricks your brain to think you are hungry. Did you know that? So, when you can back the sugar off in your body, you will have less cravings. You will not be brain hungry on a regular basis. And so I want you to know that this is even sugar substitutes, though. Like, even if I have a piece of gum in a couple hours, I'm like, what is there to snack on? And I can recognize this because I have been into a sugar detox before, like into a zone where I'm like very low amounts of sugar. So is it hard? Yeah, it is. It's difficult. But if I'm going to have something sugary, it's probably going to be an apple or a fruit of some kind. And so if you can minimize sugar, they have got studies out that have proven that sugar is like it's more addictive than drugs. Okay, and so your brain, you just get brain hungry and not stomach hungry. What's it like to be stomach hungry? Well, when my body gets hungry and I know I need to eat something, it's when I'm just a little bit off. I start being a little goofy in the mind or a little bit lightheaded. That means, gosh, you need something. You need some protein. You need some substance. Or my stomach starts growling. I can feel, that my stomach starts moving around. And so it's like, yep, it's time to feed my body. My body is needing nutrition, not I feel like having something in my mouth. You know what I mean? So there is a huge difference. So know the difference and think about this. When are you least hungry? If you are least hungry in the morning, then maybe you can do something called intermittent fasting. And that is when you maybe don't eat from 7 o'clock at night till maybe 11 o'clock in the morning. So there's a bigger gap from when you're not eating. And I will tell you that there is a lot, you don't have to go follow some crazy diet to lose weight. You just have to be smart, cutting down your sugar, drinking more water, and doing intermittent fasting is a really big deal. Okay, so what is a fast? A fast is whenever you breakfast, like they say, breakfast is breaking the fast. Okay, so the first time you eat in the morning, you're breaking the fast. And so if you can wait until a little bit later in the morning, then that will make a big difference in your weight loss journey. And by the way, one of my good friends told me that abs are made in the kitchen, not in the gym. And she is so right. Because when you will start losing weight and start taking down that inflammation and that body fat, you're going to have weight loss. You really will. And we'll talk about working out here in just a little bit. So, anyway, but the older that we get, also want to tell you, the more allergic we get to different things. So, I'm not a doctor and I'm not telling you to take any drugs, but I'm just telling you right now that you might want to talk to your physician about taking an antihistamine if you have irritation on your skin or any eczema in your scalp or itchy eyes, itchy mouth. One of the things that I've studied is that the older that we get, there are certain hormones that decrease. And some of those hormones are natural antihistamines. And so if you're wondering, why do I keep being allergic to things as I get older? It's because those hormones are decreasing in your system. Okay. So definitely take an antihistamine if you can. Definitely talk to your physician about that, though. Okay. All right. So I already talked a little bit about anxiety. I take 5-HTP. Antidepressants didn't work for me. In fact, they were terrible for me and I hated them. And so the five, it's five, and then just the letters HTP. You can find it at Walmart. You can find it at Walgreens. It's a great little supplement. And I've been taking it for several years. It doesn't make me feel sleepy. It doesn't make me feel weird. I just take one every night. You can take two a day, though, it says on the bottle. So Anyway, and by the way, it doesn't have any estrogen in it or anything like that to increase your estrogen levels. Some people that are more susceptible to breast cancers and things like that, don't want to have that increased estrogen hormone like is in some of the medications that are over the counter. So that's definitely there. Okay. So, number 1 is, my tip is decrease your sugar intake. That's gonna reduce your hunger. Number 2, do you have inflammation in your body? Like, do you have, um, like, IBS-C, or do you have, joint pain or things like that? Well, I would encourage you to look at your diet. I personally took it was a test, a food sensitivity test from Everlywell. You can just go to everlywell.com, and it was a food sensitivity test. It was like $125 because I was going to a gastroenterologist and for IBS-C, and just, lots of different things going on with my body that was related to my food intake. And they wanted to send me to a nutritionist to do a FODMAP diet. So I was going to have to delete all of this stuff out of my diet and then reintroduce stuff slowly. And I'm like, I got kids. This sounds crazy. I don't think I'm going to be able to swing that and make it sustainable. And so I just thought, what if I knew which foods were causing inflammation? And so I did that test. And guess what? The highest thing that causes inflammation in my body, my test said eggs, cow's milk. And let me think, what else was it? There were just a variety of different things. Gluten was and by the way, these aren't things that I'm allergic to. So when I was eating eggs, I wasn't getting hives, or I wasn't getting itchy face, or having an anaphylaxis or any reaction like that. It's just that it's causing inflammation in my body. Okay. Within. So eggs, dairy, gluten. But I also know sugar is a trigger for me. So know your triggers. What are they? Are you having a lot of inflammation where you might want to do one of those studies? It's really not that expensive when you're talking about how this could save you from going to doctor's visits over and over and over and over. Okay. All right. Tip number 3, exercise can be fun. I'm telling you that if you could find a workout where you'll have accountability, that's so powerful. That's why I go to the gym. Okay, so let's talk about that for just a minute. I started going to the gym more consistently during when I was having issues with my hormones. If you have anxiety, if you have hormone issues, working out improves that greatly. Okay. I am motivated by feeling good. And so I just remembered while I was exercising, oh, this is going to keep me from feeling anxious. It's going to keep my heart rate from racing. It's going to keep me from, just having anxious thoughts. And so, what is it that you can think about? Think about how you're going to look in that new pair of pants that you got that don't fit. Um, how are you going to feel when you are this size? Or how are your knees going to feel with less weight bearing? How much more comfortable are you going to feel? Or how are you going to feel when you're able to play with your grandkids, or, run around in the yard with your kids more, or play basketball with your son? So think about the rewards. And if you have to think about if you're more consequential thinking, you know what? If I don't do this, I'm going to feel worse later. So I think that that is so important. But finding an exercise that actually works for you. So let me just tell you about a little bit about my journey. I do yoga. I like yoga. Yoga is great for stretching. I used to do some classes, but some things like when I do lifting this way and this way, it was really causing extra pain and stress in my neck area. And so I had to find what works good for me, but that makes me sweat. And so the stair stepper, I like because it's not high impact on my hips, my knees, my legs, but it gets my cardio system moving. And so it tells the heart rate. So, talk to your physician or talk to a trainer and say, hey, what do you think my target heart rate should be? Or look it up. You can Google it for Pete's sake. And so that is so good. Getting that cardio exercise and like the stair stepper actually does strengthening at the same time. Okay. So let's talk about number 4 because number 4 is weight training. You don't have to be the chick in there, like lifting the barbell with 300 pounds on there or whatever. And by the way, lifting weights is not going to bulk you up. That's a lie. And think about this when you build muscle, an amazing trainer told me this one time. When you build even 5 pounds of muscle, that muscle is burning fat 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When you build muscle, it's like you've got the furnace running all the time and it's burning excess fat and calories. And when you're doing cardio, you're only burning excess while you're at a certain level, a cardio level. Okay. So build those muscles. So even if it's just small weight training, oh yes. I had someone in the comments. Thank you, Annette. Gluten sensitivity is very common. It is super common. Did you know that gluten has not always been around? It wasn't around like in the 1940s. Gluten is something that was injected into like the wheats and things like that. I don't know why they did that. I don't remember, but I did study that. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for mentioning that, Annette. Okay. So lifting weights. Um, Lifting weights is going to not only build muscle that is burning fat, but it's going to help you as you get older for stability purposes. It's going to help you have better balance and it's going to strengthen your bones. Okay. So even if it's a small amount of weight, doing any amount of weight training is good for you. It's not just for the people that want to look buff, it's for all people. And so I would encourage you, even if even if you just have like a barbell or a can of soup and you aren't doing anything and you just want to sit and do this, and do exercises, do something, get moving this year. So this is your year to take control of your body. And so tip number 5 is take great care of your skin. Okay. So skincare, lotion. I love an Epsom salt bath at night. So what can you do to take care of your skin? Well, um, talk to your Mary Kay beauty consultant because we've got all kinds of great tips. The basic steps for taking great care of your skin is cleansing, exfoliating, freshening, hydrating, and protecting. Okay. That protection is all Mary Kay's products have an SPF 30 broad spectrum. And so that is going to protect your skin. And so taking good care of your skin is a must because skin is like your largest organ on your body. Okay. All right. Let's talk about financial health. So I have to tell you that I have like paid over $50,000 in credit card debt off. And so you guys, there is no shame. There's no shame in having debt, but there is a shame in not being smart about it and not being smart in paying off your debt. So, my thought is this. Number 1, stop impulse buying. Start thinking of opening your credit card statement when you're think, okay, do I want these earrings? Or how am I going to feel when I open up my credit card statement? Consequential thinking is really important in all areas of our life. And I do that when I eat food, when I think of not exercising, when I think of financial health as well. Okay. So it's so important. Number 2, pray about bigger purchases. Guess what? If God wanted you to have that item, he's going to provide a way for you to be able to afford it. So I just have to share with you that these are just some fun stories. Okay, so um, when Paul and I were living in our old house, and I had we had a budget and money allotted for certain things, and it wasn't that rigid. Honestly, it sounds like I was all like had everything down to the penny, and that's not accurate. But I just knew that I could not afford to spend a couple $1,000s on a new kitchen table, but I had a desire to have a new kitchen table. And my desire for this new kitchen table, I knew what I wanted. I wanted a rectangular mission style kitchen table with leaves in it so we could entertain more people. And so I just prayed about it. I'm like, Lord, if you want me to have a table, just guide me in that purchase. And it's like he laid $300 on my heart. And so I'm like, am I going to spend $300 on a table? I can afford $300 on a table. And so I looked and I looked, and we would go to different places. And it's just, trusting God to provide for you is on a whole nother level for that financial health. Because if he wants me to have it, there will be a way for me to have it. And so guess what? One day I got a text message from my sister, and she said, "Hey, I have some friends that are selling a kitchen table. They want $300 for it. Here's a picture. Would you like it?" And guess what? It was exactly what I wanted. It was a rectangular mission style table, and it was in great shape. It was like brand new. And they wanted $300. My husband says, "Are you not going to offer them 275?" I said, "No, God said 300. So I'm going to go with the 300." And so another quick story. I wanted, we had a top load washing machine, and everybody was talking about their front loaders and how amazing they were. And I just prayed about it. I'm like, Lord, am I supposed to have a front load washer? Because it kind of sounds like I would like to have one, and I guess I can save up for one, but they seem so expensive. They were like, over $1,000 at that time. And so something really fun happened. I just continued to pray about it. And I was out in my front yard one time, and I had a neighbor, our kids were all playing in the neighborhood. And she said, "Oh, I just want a top load washer." And I said, "You do? Well, what do you currently have?" She said, "I have a front load washer." She said, "It's like new, but I would just really like a top load washer." And I said, "Really? Well, I happen to have one. I can certainly trade you." And guess what? That night we traded washers, and I had a front load washer. And so I believe that where there's a will, there's a way, and that God will help you to be able to have everything that your heart desires. Seriously. I even had a desire. I'm like, Lord, I don't even know what I'm going to put on that big wall in our old house. I'm like, I have this big wall, and I went to a back to school picnic, and I just put some tickets in for some drawings, and guess what? I won like this $300 huge piece of art. It was gorgeous. And so, I just feel like if you are faithful and you pray about it, sometimes the Lord will provide. So just trust him with your finances, and go from there. So anyway, okay. So number one, stop impulse buying. And if you do have credit card debt, I would encourage you to get a bank loan and pay them off immediately, because interest from a credit card will eat you alive. Okay. Right now, you can get about an 8% bank loan rather than pay 25% interest on a credit card. So, that's huge. Okay. So once you get out of credit card jail, because it is like jail, there's so much pressure on you and shame. And that shame, by the way, is coming from Satan himself, is making you feel shame. So, but get rid of that, because that will, you'd rather pay a loan than pay that interest, because it's ridiculous. Okay. So, okay. Number one, stop impulse buying. Number two, pray about your bigger purchases. And number three, set goals or make plans to pay off that debt. Like we just talked about, get a loan or do something, pay off your highest interest debt. And it doesn't make sense to have $5,000 in savings But to have $5,000 on a credit card, that's accruing interest. That is not smart. Pay that credit card off with that, you know, keep $500 and pay that $4,500 towards that card, and then start building, do what you need to do to build up. Okay. Number 4, set goals to save for your dreams. Maybe you don't have credit card debt. Congratulations, that's amazing. And so, what are your dreams? Maybe, and maybe you're wealthy beyond your wildest dreams. Guess what? There are people that would benefit from having extra money. So maybe you have something that you want a church that you want to tithe to, or maybe you have someone that you want to bless immensely. Or what about this? What if you could just save $5,000 throughout the year and you could just go out handing out $100 bills to people randomly? How fun would that be? So, whatever your goals are, set the goal and save for that goal. Number 5 in financial health is start a side hustle. And by the way, right now is the best time to start your own business because of the tax deductions. Okay. Additional forms of income are totally beneficial. Listen to any any financial guru and they're going to say multiple forms of income is great, okay? So get you a side hustle. And if Mary Kay is that, then reach out to me. We'll share with you more about that, okay? So what can you do to grow financially this year? Okay. Next, and maybe even this month. Okay, let's talk about personal, mental, and thought health. This is one of my favorite things to visit about. I could talk about this forever. I will tell you that when things happen to you in your life, you can either curl up in a ball and in the fetal position, or you can seek the Lord and grow from it. My mom passed away in 1997. I was 24 years old, and she was my best friend. And I was actually physically ill after she died. I it was an accident. She fell in her home, and it was physically and mentally exhausting. And after my mom passed away, by the way, talk about salvation and a little bit more about Jesus. There are two choices. When you lose someone, or you're ill and you're going to die. By the way, we're all going to die. But there's two options. I could believe that either my mom was in the ground and I would never see her again, or the second option, that she was in heaven with the Lord, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and that I was going to see her again someday. And so I chose option number 2. Option number 2 is filled with hope, you guys. And so, but it was still something like, okay, so my nephew died. Then I had 2 sisters die, and then my brother died. And so I found myself struggling with medical anxiety and fear of death. Anybody there? Anybody ever experience anything like that? Well, you can let that take you down, or you can take action to get better. And I don't know about you, but I want to get better. I want to grow and I want to be better and better and better in every way. And so, guess what? My tip number 1 is see a therapist. I found out that I'm not crazy. My anxiousness from everything that I had experienced in life was actually affecting my stomach, and it was creating a domino effect. And so, what that, how that worked was I was getting anxious over the thought of losing family. And that anxiousness actually makes your stomach not process food. It slows your stomach down because when you're in a fight or flight mode, this is what my therapist told me, by the way. Um, when you're going through that fight or flight mode, the first thing that your body shuts down because it doesn't need energy at that moment is your digestive system. My digestive system was suffering. Then I was having issues with digestion, and it was, I'd have pains in my stomach, pains in my back, and it was because of the stomach issues. And so, you guys, just from going to my therapist and her saying, actually, you're probably not crazy, you've probably got stomach issues, and that's all tied to your brain. And so I started doing breathing exercises, and it helped immensely. And so, by the way, Annette says she's been near death several times, but God sheltered her. Annette, I love your faith in that. And I love your trust in the Lord. And I love that you know that He has such a plan for you. That is, it's a great display of your faith. And I love that. So I want you to know that. So, um, okay. So, tip number one, see a therapist because they'll probably affirm that you're not crazy and that you're justified in whatever you're feeling. And that's a big honkin' relief. Number two, you control your thoughts, whatever you're going through right now. Okay. I want you to take inventory of what you're thinking all the time. It has been said that women think about 70,000 thoughts a day. 70,000. What are you thinking about? What are part of your 70,000 thoughts? Are they good things? Are they productive things? Or are they negative thoughts? Are they thoughts that are sabotaging you? Are they thoughts of worry, concern? I want you to take captive your thoughts. And I want you to evaluate what are you thinking on a regular basis. Okay. Sometimes you might need to verbalize. Um, like sometimes if I start thinking a crazy thought, I'm like, cancel, cancel. That is a crazy thought. And I speak it out loud because whatever my lips say, my subconscious believes. And so does yours. Okay. A lot of times I'll also say, yeah, that's not my story. Because like if I send my mind down a rabbit trail, oh, well, what if this happens? And then what if this happens? And then what if this happens? And then I say, nope, that's not my story. And then if I think, oh my goodness, I couldn't get a hold of my son. I wonder, if he's had an accident, or I wonder if this is going on. And I say, nope, that's not his story. That is not his story. And so I want you to think about that, and I want you to speak it. And I also want you to speak scripture, and I want you to stick with it. You will win the battle of your mind. And if you're going to tell yourself stories, make them good ones. So I had a bad car accident when I was 15 years old, and after that, had some fears of driving. And so, I'd be driving down the highway, and I'd think, "Oh, what if that vehicle comes over the center line?" That would just bring me anxiety. Well, I had no control over that. You can't focus on things that you can't control. And so, what I started thinking is, well, what if what if I earned a pink Cadillac and I was driving a pink Cadillac down the highway? No one would ever come into my lane because they would say, oh my gosh, there's a pink car. And they would like, anyway, that was one of the stories in my brain. And so if you're going to be like playing stories over and over, make them really good ones. If you're going to be telling stories in your brain, make them big, fat, and juicy, good stories for you. Okay. All right. Tip number three, what are you allowing into your mind? If you put garbage in something, that's all you're going to get out. Okay. You have ears. What are you listening to? Are you listening to negativity? Are you listening to, okay, the news? By the way, the news has a lot of fear mongering, a lot of bad news, and there are some lies there for sure. Um, what are you listening to? Evaluate that. Who are the people that you're listening to? That's powerful too. If you wouldn't trade places with them, then don't listen to them. Okay. You have eyes that are watching. You're soaking things up. Remember the brain, it just is like a sponge. And so, whatever you're hearing, it's going to put on repeat. Whatever you're seeing, it's going to put on repeat. Everything you're watching, social media. Do you really need to be watching social media all the time? What are you reading? What are you seeing on TV? Imagine that on repeat in your mind. Do you want to watch that? And by the way, is what you're watching or listening to going to change your future for the better? Is it going to change your financial future? Is it going to change your mental future? Protect yourself, okay? Um, what your mouth? What are you speaking? Okay? Your subconscious brain and mind believes whatever you tell it. Did you know that? Are you speaking great things to yourself like, I am a child of God. I'm a champion. I love to work. I love to exercise. I love to affirm other people. Whatever you're speaking, your brain goes to work to do. Okay? So make sure that whatever you're speaking is good. And who are you surrounding yourself with? Did you know that you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with? And if you show me your 5 friends, I will show you your financial future. It is for real. Okay. Okay. Tip number 4, treat yourself with what makes you happy. I need organization in my life and I need a Epsom salt bath every night. Organization actually unclutters my brain and brings me joy. I had to organize my jewelry drawer recently. And you know what? I have to tell you this. I love organization. I love clean. I love organized. And if it were up to me, I would just do that all the time, but that doesn't pay the bills. And so, guess what? Guess what I do? I treat myself with organization time. So, if I have a certain job I need to get done, I say, okay, I'm going to set this goal. And then when I'm done, I get to organize this cabinet or whatever. But you know what? That brings me joy. And I can work in a cluttered environment for a while, but this is what I know for sure. I don't know anyone that doesn't work better in an organized environment. So if your desk is cluttered, clean it up and see how it feels, because I think that that is a big deal. So maybe you could have a goal to have one little workspace. Maybe it's just a tiny workspace, but maybe you have one little workspace that is uncluttered. So it makes you feel like you want to go to that more consistently. And so, tip number 5, journal what works for you and what doesn't. Get to know who you really are. Maybe consider taking the Strengths Finders test so you can see your traits as strengths rather than something that needs to be fixed. Okay. So I am competitive, very. And guess what? I took the Strengths Finder test, and activator is my first strength. Like um, during my devotional time this morning, I told you I had a thought of doing this live. It's my personality to take action and get it done. I could have thought, Jana, no, you need to evaluate. Well, I did. I evaluated this afternoon. I took my notes and I prepared everything. And, I can always, I'm going to put this on a recording so people can watch it on my YouTube channel. And so you can beat yourself up, but knowing that that action is my first trait, I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm working in that zone. I wanted to get this done before 2024 so people can start using these things to take good actions for change in 2024. My number two trait is competition. I use competition to get better at what I do. Okay. So um, I don't usually compete against others, but sometimes I use other people as a benchmark for where I'm going in my business. And so it just makes it fun for me. So know who you are and know what works for you. So, what will you do to improve your thoughts and your mental health today, tomorrow, this week, and this month, and this year? Okay, I'm going to speed up because I feel like I could talk for hours. Relationships is our next one. Okay. So, relationships is so powerful. And by the way, dealing with people, even family, can be super challenging. Have you noticed that? Like, not anyone's family is perfect. Okay. So, I want to tell you that there is this book called Four Tendencies. By the way, if you're reading, read stuff that's going to help you out. And so the Four Tendencies, I got that on audiobook. And by the way, if you're not a reader, get some stuff on audiobook. You can be listening to things, you can be learning while you're making supper, while you're driving in your car, while you're doing your makeup, doing your hair, while you're taking a shower, while you're rocking the baby, whatever it is that you're doing, you can be learning. Okay. So the Four Tendencies is something that taught me how to really deal with a couple of personalities in my family a little bit better. And so you can understand your loved ones. They're not doing everything to challenge you, it's just how they are wired. And when you learn how they are wired, you can learn how to, I think, love them in a better way and understand where they're coming from. Okay. So, number one, my tip for relationships is love people more. Just really invest time in them and energy into people. And that is always an investment that will pay off well. Number two is affirm and compliment people more. What are their best traits? Call them out. I love calling out people's traits, or what is best in them. Number three is pray for people who you're having challenges with. Number one, it's going to soften your heart, and if they don't change, that's okay. So you'll just know that you have been praying for them. And also find your people. Who are your people? Who are like minded people? I have loved the people that I found in my Mary Kay world. I have the best friends, and we're like minded leaders. And so there is a community out there for you. So go find your people. Number four, forgive people. This is really more for you than it is for anybody else. Okay. So forgiveness heals you first. That doesn't mean that you're going to forget what they did to you. It is just going to heal your heart and help you to move on. Unforgiveness is terrible for your health. Number five, pretend everyone has a sign around their neck that says, "Make me feel important." Mary Kay Ash said that. And that is a really good thing to do. Even if you have nothing to gain, treat everyone like they are someone, because they are. Every person you meet is a child of God. And you never know. A friend is just a stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet. Okay, so what will you do to improve relationships in 2024? Okay, last but not least, we're going to talk about building confidence. Do something that challenges you. Adversity builds confidence because when you get knocked down, getting back up is where that confidence will rise in you. Okay. So that is so powerful. So, number one tip, Say affirmations every morning and every night when you're brushing your teeth. Remember, we talked a little bit about habit stacking? And so I like to say affirmations, and I like to put them on my bathroom mirror so I can say them when I'm brushing my teeth in the morning and brushing my teeth in the evening. Okay. And remember that your subconscious believes whatever you tell it. Number two, what are you avoiding doing that you know there will be a game changer in your business or your life? So, some of the people that I mentor and coach in my business, they're some of the things that they're where their gap is maybe booking appointments. And so when we book appointments, that's where we meet people, that's where we impact lives, that's where we share the product, share the opportunity. And so if that hesitation is right in that booking zone, that is once they push through that, they will build confidence, and that is such a powerful thing. So what is it for you that is that breakthrough block that once you break through that, there's going to be big things that happen? Okay, go there first. All right, number 3 is be in the space of a mentor or a business coach, because guess what? They will see the best in you and they will call that out in you. That is powerful. You need someone in your corner, and you need someone that knows your song and they play it for you even when you forgot it. When you start feeling not so confident and when you start doubting yourself or doubting your dreams, she can come alongside you and breathe belief into your dreams and remind you why you're doing what you're doing. Okay? Number 4, work in your strengths. Your business mentor could also help you with this. So, in Mary Kay, I love it because this is totally free. When you sign up for Mary Kay, your sales director is assigned to you to help you build confidence. And so that's a really powerful zone. So, the more that you're connected to your mentor, the more confident you're going to be. Okay, number 5 is stay away from dream stealers. People that are going nowhere fast and they want you to come along with them. They're like, "No, oh, you don't wanna go do that. Oh, no, you don't wanna build a business. Ugh, you don't wanna start a Mary Kay business. Stay back here with me where it's comfortable." Comfort is a dangerous illusion. It's not comfortable. It's like eating donuts is comfortable. Going to the gym is uncomfortable, but guess what? Guess which one is going to be better for you in the long run? So get uncomfortable. Stay away from the dream stealers. Okay, number 6, physical strength makes you feel more confident. Seriously? Like when you have body strength and you just walk differently, okay? When you're feeling physically well, so go take great care of yourself. Go build that physical strength. When you care for the body that houses the Holy Spirit, God is going to give you courageous strength, physical strength, and He's going to give you confidence, and you can walk in that. Okay? Number 7, the last tip. Is your skincare and makeup routine on point? When you look great, it makes you feel more confident. Have you been complimented on your hair in the last year? If you haven't, it might be time to go buy more, dye it, cut it, do something. But definitely, you can make a world of difference by just taking great care of your skin, by having a skincare consultation with your Mary Kay Independent Beauty Consultant. Go learn how to do great makeup, and it's going to build your confidence. Okay? So I think that I've given you lots of great tips for you to build your confidence, for you to grow spiritually, for you to grow in your physical health, for you to grow in your financial health, for you to grow personally in your thought processes and also in your relationships. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up with this. What is God calling you to in 2024? I encourage you, pray about it. Pray about it and listen. Quiet your mind and listen. Discover where He wants you to go this coming year and strategize with a mentor in your life on how you can get there. Okay? All right. Thank you all so much for hopping on. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording and answer questions. So if you're watching the recording, thank you so much for hopping on here. Post your comments below and we'll get back to you as soon as we see them. All right. Have an amazing year. Bye bye.